Welcome back to the Unredacted Truth, where we fill in the missing gaps in the world's largest scandals and mysteries. In a world of rumors and theories, my job is simple: uncovering the truth underneath the glitter and the grime. We are exposing a pattern: protection, power, predators, structures built not on justice, but on silence, fear, and impunity. We're not talking theory, we're talking court records, stamps, dates, testimony, and a system that, to this day, continues to fail the public and protect the predators among us. Let's get to it.
Hello and welcome back to the Unredacted Truth. Today we continue with the third part in this series reviewing the 2007 Epstein grand jury transcripts. These are the original transcripts that first got Epstein the true bill of guilty and got him charged. If this is your first time with us, you can catch up with the 2007 grand jury Epstein files playlist. The complete 2005 and 2006 Palm Beach Police Department incident reports and notes of the investigations are also live and accessible. You can check that out inside Jeffrey Epstein's 2005 investigation playlist. Also, a Substack and show notes are linked below for all those who'd like to inspect the files for themselves and access the uncensored audio and video edits plus timestamps. All are in the description below. And for all those who want to join a community who wants the truth and is sick of rhetoric, here is your time to hit subscribe and make sure you please comment below, like, share, subscribe. And yeah, let's get to the Epstein files. Okay, so far we have had a chance to listen to Detective Joe Recarey, who got called first in the grand jury. And we've also had a chance to listen to the minor victim come to testify. At this point, she is 16. It took 2 years for the case to get to grand jury. There's a lot of stuff that happened to delay it. Again, for all that information, watch the Inside the 2005 Jeffrey Epstein investigation playlist and files. All right, so today now we're going ahead and starting directly when Detective Joe gets recalled to the stand. Okay, now the other attorney assisting in the case is Michelle Dugan, and she's also a district attorney's office. So far, Michelle Dugan, for all those who are catching this for the first time and need a refresher, Michelle Dugan's role so far seems to just be to swear the witnesses in before they enter for grand jury. But Lanna Belohlavek has been the one who has been handling the examination herself. So we start off now with Dugan once again swearing or re-swearing, I guess, Detective Joe onto the stand. She says to him, "I'll go ahead." Witness is excused, and then witness Detective Joe is recalled. Dugan says to him, "I'll go ahead, and for the record, this is Detective Joe Recarey. I don't need to re-swear you in. We'll just remind you you're under oath." At which point, Detective Joe says okay, and the cross-examination starts again. Lanna Belohlavek is handling the cross-examination for the prosecution. Once again, every time I say question, that is Lanna, the AUSA. It feels absolutely like ridiculous calling her prosecution. Well, I guess no, she could be prosecuting the minor victim. But so every time I say moving forward, I say question, that is Lanna Belohlavek speaking. And when I say answer, that would be Detective Joe answering, Detective Joe speaking in the questioning. When it changes, I will let you know if and when there's any changes as we go ahead and read. All right, so this is Detective Joe's second time on the stand. He has been recalled. All right, so we start with Lanna. Question. Detective Recarey, let's go back to the investigation before you took over. It's still Detective Pagan. There's mention in her report of trash pulls. What's a trash pull? Detective Joe answers, a trash pull is when you make arrangements with the supervisor of sanitation to have the trash man go into the property, remove the trash, and place it in the empty well of the trash truck. And you follow them to a different location, then you retrieve the bags from the truck. Question. How is it that you can take things off someone's property without a search warrant in that way? Is it permissible because it's been discarded? Answer, it's discarded, it's trash, I was in the truck, we just take possession of it from the truck. Jen, okay. April 1st, 2005, was there a trash pull at Jeffrey Epstein's house? Answer, correct. Okay. Do you know what was found when they examined the trash from his home? Answer, several messages with phone numbers written on it with girls' names and different messages. Question, did any of the messages that you've had a chance to look at talk about any of the girls you found out through your investigation had gone to Jeffrey Epstein's house? Answer, that is correct. The names and phone numbers were of girls that have gone to the house and left little messages. I have girls for him, for a good time, call me type of thing. Okay. Was there a message indicating that Sally had an appointment in April? Yes. And what time did Sally have an appointment in April? 11 a.m. Okay. Do you know if Detective Fagan had taken voicemails from Haley's phone where she was confirming meeting with Sally? Right. Question, to go there 11? Answer, they were controlled phone calls between Sally was making phone calls to Haley for us as part of the investigation. Haley made the appointment to bring Sally over 11 a.m. for April 1st. Again, if this is your first time catching up, we're calling the minor victim, victim A, the 14-year-old Sally. We've been calling her that from the beginning when we were reading the police investigation notes. So a lot of this is just reconfirming everything we saw in the police investigation notes. And B, we also know that the other person that they're speaking about is Haley Robson, who brought her to Jeffrey Epstein's house that first time. Okay, then we go. Question, but Sally never went there? Answer, no. Question, okay, now answer, yes. There are several mentions of redacted and redacted. Question, were you able to identify who redacted and who redacted were? Answer, yes, I did. Later on in the investigation, we discovered that redacted was actually blank and blank, another high school student who still attends there, and the other one was the other girl that was frequenting Epstein's house. So it looks like they're talking about two other victims here who have not testified just yet. And that is confirmed because the next question is, how old was she at the time? At which Detective Jill answers, I believe she was 16. So correct. Now she's referencing or bringing in alternate victims into the grand jury trial. Okay, so it goes on to say, and how old was the other girl? To which Detective Jill answers, the other girl, through the investigation, I found out she started going to the house when she was 16 or had just turned 16. And then goes on, question, and how long of a time did she continue to go there? Answer, till she turned 18. Question, okay. Was there a trash pull on September 21st of 2005? I guess this is after you've taken over the investigation. Is that correct? Question, okay. Was there a trash pull that day? Answer, yes. Question, did you find anything interesting in that trash pull? Answer, I'm trying to get to. Question, Lanna has a huge thing of cutting people off while they're speaking. She says, maybe page 24, 25 of your report, page 24. Answer, the date was September. Question, September 21st. Answer, okay. And yes. Question, what did you find in that trash bowl? So let's bring up that trash bowl and see what they would be looking at as well. Okay, here we are, September 21st. Let's see for you guys so you can see it. Trash pool evidence, September 1st of 5, day after Epstein left. All right. And for what we're referencing to, it is, for our purposes, page 19 of this thing. There we go. What did you find in that trash ball? Answer, I had notes with the name, which is redacted, with her phone number, as well as another name for a good time, and then he gets cut off. So we have here Laura and a name that's redacted that starts with V. So The next line is question. Were you able to identify one of them? Answer, yes. Question, who is she? Answer, she is blank. Question, and what about the other girl? Were you able to identify her? Answer, yes. Through the investigation, I was able to find out that she is actually this girl. So he found out whoever that name is actually somebody else. That's not her real name. It's what I am reading from this. Question, can you spell the name? And he spells it. Then it goes on to question, how old was she at the time? Answer, 17. Before we continue with reading the transcript, I just want to point out that this line of questioning goes along with what we've seen from Lanna, which is trying to paint each of the minor victims as like these girls basically knew what they're doing. They chose to go there and they are teenage prostitutes. All right. So then she goes on, okay, question. Okay, another trash pull on October 3rd, 2005. Answer, correct. Question, anything interesting found in that trash pull? Answer, October 3rd. What page are you on? Question, page 26. Page 26 is a report dictated by Officer Crowell. Answer, Officer Curtis Crowell, correct? Question, okay. So pause, let's see if we have access to that. Okay, so we found the report that Lanna is referencing in this part of her questioning. Okay, so Lanna Bellhill goes on to say, there, he indicates that in the trash bowl, they located a hard plastic or clear acrylic stick, which was shaped with small ridges. This device is commonly used as a toy, which is inserted into the anus for stimulation. What was the type of item actually found? Detective Joe goes on to answer. The device actually found. But later on in the search warrant, it was discovered that it was actually the handle of and then she cuts him off. And she says, for the silverware, to which he answers, for forks and knives, finishing his sentence. To which Lanna then goes on to say, okay, so it wasn't something we would call or a dildo. He answers, no. And then Bowel goes on to reaffirm, okay, it appeared that way to him, but you were able to confirm later on it was not. To which he says, right. And then Lanna says, okay, all right. You are aware from your investigation and talking to Detective Pagan that the girl said she was initiated into going to Jeffrey Epstein's house by someone named, I believe that's Haley Robson, to which he says, correct. And then okay, so it looks like, all right, so after confirming that what was found in the trash was not a dildo, but actually a handle full of forks and knives, well, silverware, whatever, she just moved on. So it looks like at this point, she's made her point. The jury needs to know that it wasn't actually a dildo found in the defendant's trash bag, but really silverware, and it's just like moves right on. It's almost like she has a checklist. She's like, okay, discredit victim on stand. Check. Weekend all evidence against Jeffrey Epstein. Check. Is my opinion reading how Lanna Belohlavek, the AUSA, is handling this case. Okay, now we get back to reading the rest of the testimony. Question, were you able to talk to blank? And I believe that's Haley Robson, at which she says, yes, I did. And she asks him, when was that? And Detective Joe answers, October 3rd, 2005. In question, where did that take place? And he goes on to say, Sergeant Frick and I went to her house out in Redacted, knocked on the door and asked her to come to the station for further questioning, reference this investigation. Okay, so I was right in assuming that they are talking about Haley Robson, because if we remember from the police investigation notes, they went to her house, she was home, and she volunteered to go with them back to the station to talk to them. And then the next question is, how old was she? To which she answers, she had just graduated from high school from the same high school as all the other girls, pretty much. Okay, then the next question is, okay, was she a minor at the time or an adult? Do you recall, sir? Well, at the time, she would have been an adult. Question when? And he says, at the time of the interview. Question, when you talked to her, okay, did she talk to you that day at her house? He answered, no. She came back with us to the police department for further questioning. And then she asked, Lanna Bellhel then asks, she was uncomfortable talking at her house. She told you she wanted to do it elsewhere. To which Detective Joe answers, no, I wanted to go over documents that I didn't have with me with her. Bellhel says, okay. Again, she had cut him off. So he tries to finish his sentence. He's like, and then she cuts him off again, does not let him finish whatever that line was that he was saying. So she cuts him off and says, so when did she come to the police department? And he answers that same day. To which Bellhel says, what did she tell you? Answer. During a sworn tape statement, she stated that she became in contact with Mr. Jeff Epstein when she was 17, when she was approached by a friend with an opportunity to make money. She was taken to the Epstein's residence. She was told that she would have to provide a massage and make $200. She was taken to the house. She was introduced to his Epstein's assistant by the name of Sarah. Remember in Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal, and this now is in 2019. I don't know if it was for the sake of the appeal or at that time. In that document that we read through, she is referenced as Ghislaine's assistant, not Epstein's assistant. Sarah then would escort her upstairs, prepare the room for the massage by putting out the ointment and the different oils. Mr. Epstein came into the room. He demanded she remove her clothing. She did so. She started giving the massage, rubbing his back, his calves, and thighs. He turned onto his back, asked her to rub his chest as she did, so he tried to touch her buttocks. That's such a weird word to say. She touch her butt. She pulled away. She said, I'm uncomfortable with you touching me. I'll give you the massage, but I'm uncomfortable with you touching me. It was at which time he stated, I know you're uncomfortable. If you bring me girls, I will pay you to bring me girls. Pause. I see, like, the way he answers this is like, it's like he knows what Lanna is trying to do. Same with how she was trying to push the minor victim to say she was like appear older or say she was older than 14, what she actually was at her first encounter with Epstein. At the beginning of this, she tries to like make it or at least leave a lasting impression of a Haley being 18, age of consent. He pegs it. And he answers by saying she was 17 when they met. He demanded her to take the clothes off. Sarah Epstein did this, like kind of putting more into it so you could kind of like help the jury to see the true reality versus the picture that Lana's trying to paint that like these high school kids were just targeting Epstein and he's the victim of this like high school prostitutes, basically. I can see in the way he's answering the question, he's trying to kind of like mitigate that picture that Lanna has been painting this whole time. All right, so he goes on to the next question by Lanna. So he didn't make her do anything she was uncomfortable with. Like I was telling you guys, her whole thing is to make Epstein look like the victim and the minors' children, like the children to look like the villains. So she goes on, okay, so he didn't make her do anything she was uncomfortable with. He answers, Detective Joe answers right. Lanna then says, how did she indicate that she first met anybody that she knew? Jeffrey Epstein. Detective Joe goes on to answer. She was approached by one of her friends and redacted by the name of, that name's redacted, an unknown last name. I was never, and then of course Lanna cuts him off again. She never lets Detective Joe or the minor victim finish his sentence before she cuts it off. And you never If you didn't cut him off, he was about to finish. Why did you cut him off by saying you never? Then he goes on to say, I was never able to identify. She goes on, determine. He answers who the other girl was, who actually took her to Epstein's house and introduced her to into the household. I believe, it was random names like Molly, but they didn't know who it was two people, Molly and a guy. That Haley picked up Haley at the beach or the mall. That's all in our first, when we're going through the police investigative notes, we have the full video in there. Next says okay. So he wasn't able to determine who the other girl who actually took her to Epstein's house and introduced her to into the household. Then Lanna goes on with her questioning. Okay. Were you able to determine the approximate date when she met this other girl who took her to Epstein's house? He answers, sometime when she turned 17. Question, okay, so she was 17 when she first went there? He answers, I can see the attitude like this. Anyway, so Lana then goes on with the questioning. All right. When he talked to her about bringing other girls to him, since she's uncomfortable, what was her response? He answered, she agreed to bring the girls to him, and he told her the younger the better. She brought a 23-year-old to massage him, and he told her that she was too old and he wanted someone younger. Thank you, Detective Joe, for getting the facts in one way or another, regardless, in spite of Lanna Belohlavek. Then he goes on to say, knowing that she went to a specific high school, he recommended that she ask her friends, who would have been 16, 17, and minors too, which is why she approached her cousin's girlfriend. Next, it goes on to say, during the statement, she gave me approximately 6 names that she can remember that she took to the house that all went to the same high school. Lanna goes on, who did she tell you she took to the house? He gets to, Detective Joe then answers by listing the names of the other victims and the 14-year-old victim, who we are calling Sally. Lanna then goes on to say the victim's name again. So she say, okay, did you ask Haley what she told these people, what to expect when she took them to Jeffrey Epstein's house? For all of us who've been following along with Lanna, I think we can predict where the line of questioning is going from here. Okay. Detective Joe answers. She explained that all the girls knew what was to be expected. The more you did, the more money you made. She explained that there was going to be a massage or some possible touching, and you would have to provide the massage either topless or naked. Question from Lana. And she told you that she told Sally that? Told ya. Right back to discrediting the minor victims again. Girl is on a mission. She knows her job. She knows her task, and she's going to accomplish it. Detective Joe goes on to answer. She said that she told all the girls that. Thank you, Detective Joe. You know what this slimy woman, Lanna Belohlavek, Lanna Bowel, is trying to do. Poor guy. He really tried. Rest in peace, Detective Joe Recarey. You appeared to be an amazing man, an amazing cop. And hopefully, as all this information comes out and the pressure keeps mounting, you will finally be able to see the justice that you were so shamelessly, and the girls, the victims, were shamelessly stolen from you guys. Okay, so she goes on to say, with her questioning from Bowel, okay, during your conversations with Haley, did she refer herself as somebody famous? She will not quit with painting these girls as prostitutes. Anyway, Detective Joe goes on to answer, on the ride back to her house, she stated that she was like Heidi Fleiss, the Hollywood madame that provided girls to clients. Question, did Haley, you may have told me this earlier, and I apologize if I didn't hear it. Did Haley undress when she provided the massage? He answered yes. She provided the massage naked under the direction of, again, she cuts him off because what? He's about to name her client Jeffrey Epstein. Cuts off Detective Joe to protect her client. She says, not just down to her underwear? No, I believe it was naked, is the answer. And she goes on to say, okay, was Haley paid money. Did she tell you for bringing these other girls? And then he answers yes. And then she asks him how much money, to which Detective Joe answers she was paid approximately $200 for every girl she brought. Then Lana goes on to question, just one time per girl, every time she brought a girl, did she get another 200? Detective Joe answers, every time she brought a girl, she got 200. Question, even if it was the same girl over and over? Answer, correct. Question, okay. All right. You found the card that says, for a good time, call redacted. You were able to identify her as blank. He answers, correct. Question, did you get a statement from her? He answers, yes, I did. At that time, she was already attending college. She had started, and then I'm guessing he says the college name. She stated that nothing inappropriate had occurred originally, and then explained that, he had, Epstein, tried to touch her on several occasions. Question, did she change her statement at some point to you? Answer, well, originally she started off saying that nothing inappropriate had occurred. For the questioning, she had changed that there was additional things that had happened. Question, what did she say the additional things were that happened? Answer, there was attempted touching. He had caressed her cheeks. All the while he had introduced the vibe, but she did not allow a vibe to be used on her. She described the vibe as having a huge head on the tip of the vibe, white in color. Question, okay, it progressed in the first time she was there to just massage to touching to vibrator, or were there numerous times she went to the house? Answers. Detective Joe answers that question. Numerous times that she went to his house. This all progressed as more times she came to the house, the more things started to occur. Question. How many times did she go to Jeffrey Epstein's house? Answer from Detective Joe. Off the top of my head, she stated that she had been there many times. Question. All right. The last known time that she told you she was there, he answered, was in October. The last time Mr. Epstein was in town, October 3rd or 4th, 2005. Question. Remember, this is October 2005. The case had started in March 14th, 2005, and he was already aware that the case was going on. So he never stopped. He pulled a Diddy. While the investigation was going on, he was still doing his mess. All right. And then he goes on to say, okay, next question. Okay. Do you know any of the girls that say they went to his house after 2005? Answer, no. I don't believe Mr. Epstein has been back. He learned of the investigation in October. Okay. Was she paid by Jeffrey Epstein? Hold up. Let me go back and say that he learned of I think in October is when he knew, like, oh, shit, like, we're not going to be able to squash this. Because we all remember in March, before the first 14-year-old even did the first the control call, when they called Haley Robson, the first thing Haley Robson said was, does your dad know, is he filing charges? So they had been rumors, people had already been contacted by Epstein's team before October. So he was already aware. Maybe officially they made them officially aware that he was possibly going to get indicted in October, but he knew way before that. Okay, we go on. Okay, with the question, was she paid by Jeffrey Epstein? Answer, yes. Do you know how much she was paid? Answer, she was paid between $200 and $300. Question, each time? Answer, each time that she went. Question, did she get any other compensation other than money from him? Answer, she also received a rental car, which as of this date, I think she's still driving it from Dollar Tree. So this is 2 years after he did the investigation, and she still has the rental car. He goes on to say, and we also saw those rental car receipts and everything, and I believe Alfredo let them know that that was his job, to go to rental car and get that all arranged for the girls. Okay, next we go on. Question. Were you able to confirm through the rental car that it was rented by Mr. Epstein or someone else? Answer, it was. She cuts him off. Employee, he responds, oh, I was wrong. Answer, rented by, it was rented by his housemate, Giannis Benesiak. Giannis B, I can't say that name, with a credit card of Mr. Epstein. So I'm sorry, I want to correct that. Before I thought it was Alfredo who rented the car, but it was Giannis who rented that car for the victim and who was at college at this time. Next question. Okay, were you able to get a statement from the person you identified as redacted, so the victim? He goes on and said that is correct. Question, when did that occur? On October 10th, I had made telephone contact with her. She was up in Florida, and I had explained to her that I was conducting this investigation. Miss Blank began to cry, explained that she had been to the house hundreds of times. Started going there at the age of 16 when she was still attending the high school, where she was offered $200 for 30 minutes of work. Question, how was she introduced to him? Answer, she was taken to him by a friend of hers who also had gone to the same high school. At which point, Lanna says, and then Detective Joe goes on with the testimony. She was taken to the house. She would have to perform this massage naked. Lanna goes on with the question. She knew that before she went? Answer, that was explained to her by Redacted. I don't believe this is Haley. I believe this is someone else. Question. Okay. What did she describe about that first visit to Jeffrey Epstein's house? Answer. She recalled that the appointment was set up for that same day. They contacted Mr. Epstein's assistant, Sarah. We all know that's Sarah Kellum, later identified as Sarah Kellum, where the appointment was made. She was taken. She remembered it was on the weekends because she only worked on the weekends as she was still going to high school. She was taken upstairs to the master bedroom. She could observe in the spiral staircase up to the bedroom, there were photographs of naked women throughout the house. Question, adult women? Of course. She needs to make like any chance she gets to make Jeffrey Epstein less culpable in her questioning, the prosecutor at USA, Lanna Belohlavek, will take. He goes on to say, I believe so. Then the next question from Lanna is, okay, she goes up the stairs. What happens upstairs? Detective Joe tries to continue his testimony. She's taken into the room. The room is set up. The massage tables are set up. Ointments are put out by Sarah Kellum. Epstein enters the room and introduces himself to her. He lays on the massage table and asks her to get comfortable. She stated that she couldn't remember if she provided the massage naked, but knows that she had rubbed his legs, thighs, and feet. All during this time, Epstein turned onto his back so that he could rub his chest, and he started to masturbate. She says, okay. Lanna says, okay. And then Detective Joe goes on to say, which was another thing. One of the other girls, every time there was a massage, Epstein would bait himself. Lanna goes on with the question, was she able to see his, or was it under the towel he had come out in? He goes on to, one sec. That's what I noticed. See, Lanna, he didn't mention anything about Epstein being in a towel. He said she was taken into the room. The room is set up. The massage tables are set up. Ointments are put out by Sarah Kellum. Epstein enters the room and introduces himself to her. He lays on the massage table and asks her to get comfortable. Lanna's next question, realizing, Jeffrey Epstein might look a little bit horrible here, or like look like the freaking disgusting pig he is here. Next line of questioning, she introduces in the towel. So they remember, remember he always comes in a towel. Okay, so he goes on to answer. He had exposed his to her, removed the towel, which made it visible. Next question by Lanna. How long did that go on? Answer. She had been to his house over in a 2-year period that she stated hundreds of times. Question. I meant the masturbation. Answer. It was for several minutes. Question. Okay, did he touch her at all that first time? Answer. I believe he did use them on her, if I recall. Thank you. Detective Joe is getting the information in any way he can. Like, he is noticed that he is in an uphill battle. he has pegged the woman, he has pegged the opponent's strategy, and he is maneuvering to get as much of the information in possible in front of the jury. Okay, so we go on with Lanna's questioning. I'm going to direct you to page 39, second full paragraph halfway down. If Joe says, okay, question from Lanna. I believe your report says Epstein touched her breast. Detective Joe answers yes. Question, okay, so at that point, he touched her breast. Do you recall? Answer, right. Question, if the device was used that first time or if it was just the touching. Do you recall? And then he says, right. So he cut her off. So this is Lanna continuing her train of thought. Do you recall if the was used that first time or if it was just the touching? Detective Joe answers yes. Question from Lanna, of her breast? Answer, no. He did touch her breast as he masturbated. This little part that I just read that we just read from the testimony, the testifying and the questioning, she is now like putting up like the credibility. She's putting in question the credibility of her own officer on the stand during this grand jury trial. There we go. AUSA Lanna Belohlavek, guys. Give her a hand. Was she paid money for that visit? Detective Joe answers $200. Question. And did she go back to the house? You already said she went back hundreds of times. Answer. Yes, she did. Question. And I guess you've told us for about 2 years she went back. Is that a yes? Answer. Yes. Question. She estimates over 100 times? Answer. Yes, she does. Question. Did the situation with her progress? Answer. It did. During the time frame that she was attending there, over the 2-year period, she stated that every time she went there, it didn't have to be involving the massage or any kind of counter. At times that she would go, she would end up just having dinner or talking with Epstein, being treated like an escort. She goes on to say at one point, Epstein introduced his other assistant, Nadia Merchankova. She explained that she explained that he brought her from Yugoslavia to the United States to be his sex slave. This is what Epstein has told not just this person, not just Detective Joe or the witness. He told multiple girls that Nadia was brought from Yugoslavia to the US to be his 14-year-old sex slave. Goes on to say, were you ever able to confirm that? He answers, I know that she is here on a visa, a modeling visa. We all know by now from Jean-Luc Brunel and all the other girls from Eastern European and also with Ronald R. Eppinger, his first trafficker when she was 14. No, she was 13. I believe she was 13 when Ronald Eppinger grabbed her, like started trafficking her. So we all know that all was under a guise of modeling. Okay, so she goes on to say, question, you don't know the purpose she's here other than you were able to confirm the visa? Answer, yes. Question, okay. Answer, she's here for a visa. Then Lanna gets on with her questioning. What did she describe as the progression of acts? To which Detective Joe answers, he introduced Nadia into the routine. Question, so it became a threesome at some point? He answers, right. She says, okay. Detective Joe goes on to say, he had asked her to perform oral sex on Nadia. She originally had refused. He enticed her by giving her additional monies to perform this act for 5 minutes. Question, how much additional money? Detective Joe answers $200 extra. Question, and then she agreed? Answer, at which point she agreed. Question, okay, what? This is Lanna Belohlavek questioning Detective Joe. Okay, was it always just the masturbating in front of her and sex acts with Nadia, or were there additional sex acts with Jeff Epstein? Detective Joe goes on to say, it was explained at one point towards the end, prior to she turning 18 or it was just after. It had been previously spoken that she would that there would be no penetration by Mr. Epstein. She had stated that Mr. Epstein had a deformed and did not want to have any kind of intercourse with him. It was after one of where they had purchased the sex toys, they introduced the sex toys with Nadia and her as Epstein would watch on and masturbate. At one point, he grabbed her and placed her head onto the head on the massage table and inserted his in her. So this is what at least has been able to say how she was like this. It was forcibly. But going back to the deformed, I was just watching, was it Cat Williams? Yes, Cat Williams said every evil man in history has the same thing in common. Anyway, keep going. Question. Okay. You said they were introduced sex toys, purchased sex toys. Who purchased the sex toys? Answer, Nadia. Question. Was she with her when they were purchased? Answer, it is yes. She says, okay. He goes on to say it was for Epstein's, and then again, Lanna cuts off Detective Joe mid-testimony. Says, so she and Nadia went to purchase the sex toys. Answer, for Epstein's birthday. Question. And during the time that he penetrated her vagina, she was either 17 or 18. You're not clear. Clear which? He answers right. And she says, okay. And he goes on to say this was towards the end because after that, she stopped going to his house. So then she goes on to question Detective Joe, how many? Okay, 100 times she did indicate how much money she made during the 2-year period that she was going to him. Okay, this is typed a little weird, but it looks like she's trying to ask him, okay, did she indicate to you approximately how much money she made in the 200-year period that she went to Epstein's house? To which he says, well, she arrived between she received between $200 and $1,000. Lanna asks each time, to which he said, each time that she went. The day that he forcibly entered himself into her, he paid her $1,000. Also, she had received a rental car from Dollar Rental Car, a blue Dodge Neon that the previous houseman had rented for her. So he's showing, like, he forcibly entered and then he paid her $1,000 because of it and tried to, like, keep her quiet. Bowel goes on to question, did she ever make a report of battery after what she told you about him inserting his inside her? Detective Joe asks Lanna, what do you mean battery? Lanna goes on to ask, continues, did she, at that time that he forces inside her, you said? Detective Joe says that at that cuts him off again while he's trying to give her an answer. She says, did she make this time? Detective Joe answers the day that it occurred? No. Okay, again, I was in there. This is me just reading between the lines. It reads like for me. When he enters the testimony of that day he forcibly entered, because here she's feeling good. She's highlighting this is like she made a lot of money. She's like the others, they're teenage prostitutes. I am doing my job as AUSA for Jeffrey Epstein. Goes on. So then Detective Joe's next answer and testimony shows a little curve in her game plan by saying the words forcibly entered himself is when he paid her the $1,000 and he paid her and he gave her a bunch of stuff to keep her quiet. Then she gets Bowel, the AUSA for Jeffrey Epstein, goes on to say, she gets testy. She's like, okay, well, did she? Then she goes on to question whether the girl even like reported battery when that happened. What does that again lean itself to? Credibility. And up to this point, we've seen she is staying on track and staying on brand by making sure she discredits every victim, every witness, everything that paints Jeffrey Epstein in a bad light. All right, let's keep going on with her testimony. Okay, so Lanna again picks up the phone for AUSA. Lanna picks up for her client Epstein and says, with this question, that day she took $1,000. Let's say it was only $200 for 100 times. We're talking a lot of money she got at a minimum, plus a car. Is that yes? Answer, yes. Question, okay. Did you ask her what she did with all that money? None of your business, Lanna. He goes on to ask her, I did ask her, and she didn't want to tell me. Question from Lanna to Detective Joe, what did she say? He answers, she said that was too personal. Thank you. None of your business. Question from Lanna. After you, she's just described all these sex acts to you. Okay, did you interview somebody named, and then that name's redacted? And he answers, yes, I did. And then she verifies it, and with page 51, so they're jumping to page 51, the Palm Beach police notes. So he goes on to say, okay, November 4th, she provided a sworn tape statement that she had been taken to Epstein's house by a friend from school. And I'm guessing they named the school and they named the friend, both redacted. Question, this same person that took another girl? Answer, correct. She was told as well that she would have to provide the massage and she would be paid $300 for the massage. Lanna, how old was she at the time? He answers, 17, I believe. Lanna, question, what did she describe happening when she went there for the first time? Detective Joe answers, she was taken to the house and introduced to Epstein's assistant, pretty much. She asks, which one, Nadia? He goes, consistent. Oh, she says, then, okay, so he's trying to say, no, was it Nadia? It was the consistent assistant, Sarah. All right. And then she said, okay, so now Detective Joe's finishing. Once they say, okay, another one met Sarah. So the same consistent assistant is Sarah Callan, who meets the girls and takes them upstairs for the massage. Now, Detective Joe is finishing his testimony. It was pretty much consistent with all the girls. They would be introduced to the assistant, Sarah Callan, who would then lead her upstairs and prepare the room for the massage in the master bedroom area. She would put a blanket over the massage tables, and provide the ointments that Mr. Epstein would like to have used. She rubbed his calves and his back area and was paid $300 for services. Question, was that the one time that she did it, or did she go back? Answer, she stated that she had gone back 4 or 5 times. Question, similar acts each time she went back? Answer, correct. Question, similar amounts of money each time? Answer, this is Detective Joe answering. It started to escalate. I mean, each time that she went further, things started to happen. It was the same monies, though, provided. So at this point, Epstein's getting cheap. Question, okay, so the sex acts became more involved. He answers correct. Hill asks, okay, she was what? You said 17? And he says correct. Detective Joe says correct. Question from Bowel. Did she tell Jeffrey Epstein that she was 17? He answers, may have, I believe so. He's trying to say that these girls all lied and trapped him by lying about their age. This is where she's going with this. Next question. Take a minute and look at your report and see if you can find that there. He looked at his report and his answers, okay, she was 16 when she first went to the house. Ha! That one backfired on you, Lanna. And then she goes on and say, okay, she was 16, but does she ever tell him she's 16 or 17? Look again, trying to save her client, Jeffrey Epstein. To which Detective Joe affirmatively says no. And the next question for Bowel is, did any of the girls ever tell him that they were under 18? I told you what she was trying to do. He continued to say, well, he knew that they went to the high school. Thank you for answering that way. Thank you. To which Bowel, she gets sassy again with him. She says, that was not my question to you. She's trying so hard to protect Jeffrey Epstein every single way of this grand jury trial. I wonder, if they may, allegedly, this is me speculating, if the deal was, if it goes to grand jury, if you can stop it from getting to grand jury, you get a certain amount, or you get something. If it goes to grand jury and you can help us to not get a prosecution, you get a bonus. I don't know. Like, this girl is working hard for Jeffrey Epstein and team. Anyway, we continue on to say, so she says, that's not my question. It just says, okay. And then she clarifies herself. Did any of the girls ever tell Jeff Epstein that they were under 18? He says, not to my knowledge. I do not recall. Question from Lanna. And some of them affirmatively lied and said they were 18 when they were not, did they? Answer, correct. Question. But he was aware that they were going to the high school. Answer, correct. Like, I'm so flabbergasted by, like, this woman. And the fact that she's still, like, an AUSA. I am so sorry for the victims that had to go through that. But not only that, I am so sorry for every victim then and now currently in Florida who has had to deal with AUSA Lanna Belohlavek as your prosecutor. I am so sorry for what you have and must and are going through dealing with this woman. Okay, Bowel continues with her questioning. Okay, how much money does she make? Detective Joe answers 300. Bowel then goes on to say, was she ever given anything other than cash money? Detective Joe answers she was also given a Western Union wire from New York for a Christmas bonus. Bowel asks how much was the Christmas bonus. He answers $200. For all those, remember, we saw that wire like when he was doing it, and it was a wire from Epstein. I believe he was in New York too. $22 was for the service fee for Western Union. Okay, then it goes and continue with Lanna asking, all right, at some point you spoke with someone named Alfredo Rodriguez. Detective Joe says correct. She goes on, who is he? Answer, he's a former houseman of Jeffrey Epstein. Question, what did he describe his duties when he was employed by Mr. Epstein? Detective Joe answers, he was basically everything. He was the butler, the driver, in charge of his security. He was basically the everything of the house. Question, okay, do it all. He did anything wanted to. It says indiscernible, but I think she probably said Jeffrey or Epstein wanted to. To which Detective Joe says yes, right? Question, okay. Did Alfredo Rodriguez give you any information regarding your investigation? Answer, he explained that he knew something was amiss during his employ with Mr. Epstein. He would see girls as young as his daughter come in and say that they're his masseuses. And when asked how young, he said very young, too young to be masseuse. Question from Lanna. Did he give you any further information? Answer. He also stated that he had kept a folder for his protection, some notes that were made during his employ with Mr. Epstein. Question. What? So he kept like a journal? Answer. Basically, yes. Like a folder with different sheets of paper inside. Question. And he would write notes himself, or he would put notes in that journal. Answer, he would put notes inside. Then she just says, okay. Then he goes on to say notes that were given to him on Mr. Epstein's stationery. Next question from Lanna. Was there any note that he provided to you in that folder that indicated something, any type of relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and any of the girls we've discussed? Answer, yes. He provided 2 sheets. One was to extend the rental car for the girl as the contract was up the 2nd of February. Okay, pause here because rounding up, a lot of you at this point may have seen, I believe it was Low on Crime or maybe TMZ, who was reporting it that Epstein's latest dump shows. I will link that video below, but it shows like Epstein's latest dump proves cloning, like baby cloning. That video shows taped recording of Alfredo undercover sting. He did get charged. He pleaded out to a misdemeanor. I have those papers too. Somewhere we look at it another time. But in that, there is a video of him discussing that folder because he tried to sell it later on to make a little extra money. Let me see if I can find that here for you as well. Alfredo, which one? Okay, I did find it. It was TMZ, and we know they're very copyright strike happy. So I will just pin that link below. But I just want to point that out for you guys to see. Okay, so we'll continue on. And it says, was there any note that he provided to you in that folder that indicated any type of relationship between Jeffrey Epstein, and any of the girls we've discussed? To which Detective Joe answers, yes, he provided 2 sheets. One was to extend the rental car for her as the contract was up on the 2nd of February. Question, the 2nd of February, what year? Answer, I was unable to determine that. I researched the information through Dollar Tree Rent-A-Car, and they were unable to locate the car that he rented. Question, okay, but did she confirm that she had gotten a car? He answered yes. Then he goes on to say she even described the car as a blue Dodge Neon 4-door. She explained the whole car to me. Additionally, there was another notation of to take a bucket of roses at 9 p.m. to the high school for her. I don't know if this is the same victim that had a car who had the roses taken to her high school, or if this is an alternate girl that he's referencing. I don't remember correctly. Again, go back to the behind the Epstein investigation police notes to refresh that part. Okay, so goes on and give the flowers to her after a performance. She was in, well, it says that she was in a play, and he had Alfredo take flowers to a girl at high school at the end of her play, is what he's saying over here. So Lanna then goes on with her questioning. Okay, and do you know when that was? Detective Joe answers, it was while the girl was still in high school. It was during his employ prior to Jonas. So this is Alfredo. So it looks like at the time of the raid, Jonas was the main house manager, but before that it was Alfredo, and Alfredo had gone at this time. So it goes on to say, do you know if that was when she was 16, or when she was 17, or when she was 18 years old? Like, she's trying to push this victim's ages closer and closer to 18 and like age of consent as much as possible during her entire questioning. Detective Joe goes on when she was 17. She says, okay, did you, any of these girls we've talked to about, any of them have a licensed therapist? Detective Joe answers, no formal training and any massages. Let's read that again. She says, okay, did you, any of these girls we've talked about, any of them a licensed massage therapist? Detective Joe answers no formal training, any massages. She goes on to question, did you ever speak to a licensed massage therapist that provided services to Jeffrey Epstein? Detective Joe answers, through the trash bowls, we did locate 2 girls that were licensed masseuses that I interviewed. She says, okay, who were they? He goes on to give 2 names. I think Ransom might have been one of these, if I remember correctly. Again, we have this interview in the police investigation notes. Then it goes on to say, okay, did you talk to them? And he says, yes, I did. Next question, what did she tell you? Detective Joe goes on to answer, she had been going to Epstein's house for quite some time. However, she was not a masseuse at the time when she started going to his house. Okay, so the next question goes on to say, oh, did you talk to Redacted? And then Detective Joe goes on to answer, yes, I did. Question, and what did she tell you? Detective Joe goes on to answer. She had been going to Epstein's house for quite some time. However, she was not a masseuse at that time when she first started going to his house. She also provided her a vehicle to get to his house because her scooter had broken down. She gets cut off by Lanna Bowel with a question. She started going to his house in a similar capacity as these other girls. He answers that is correct. Goes on to say, okay, but she later became a massage therapist. He answers yes. Question: what kind of relationship did she and Jeffrey Epstein have? He goes on to say she stated that it was a consensual encounters that they've had. Why she brought that into the thing? He asks, okay, how old was she at that time? He answers, over 18 at that time. I think she was 18. Question: did she describe being paid money for? He answered, paid money. Question: the services she provided? Detective Joe answers, and additionally, I believe he paid for her tuition at blank. That's something else that Jeffrey Epstein likes to do, which is offer to pay for the girls' tuition for their endangered servitude. Next question. Is that where she got her massage training? Detective Jill answers no. She got into and then mentions another school. Lana then goes on to question, all right, what you mentioned, okay, she says another name that's redacted. She's a licensed massage therapist, to which she says that is correct. So now it looks like she's introducing another victim into the questioning. And then Lana Bellhall goes on to say, did she provide massage services to Jeff Epstein? To which Detective Joe says yes. And then she goes on, what kind of services did she provide? He answers, she does a Swedish deep tissue massage. Question: did the massage she did go beyond a normal massage to the other acts we've heard about today? Detective Jill answers, no, her job was strictly to come in and provide the massage. She paid $100 and she left. A lot lower than the young girls. See, the license out, I know what she's trying to do with this questioning of massage, but what I see is that the licensed massage therapist, and I shouldn't say licensed because she was actually a licensed massage therapist, the licensed massage therapist got paid a lot less money than the teenage girls. What does that show us? Next question is, okay, so the licensed massage therapist gets $100 and the other girls get more. Like I was saying, he answers right. Next question. Okay, you've met most of these girls. Was there anything different about this girl that you noticed that made her stand apart from the other girls that were going? Detective Joe answers, she was not the petite little girl. She was a bigger girl with plenty of tattoos on her forearms, very visible on her neck, very visible tattoos. Question: if you were to say Mr. Epstein had a type, she would not fit that type? He answers, absolutely. Question: were you ever able to find any intelligence from the Palm Beach County Police Department that confirmed any of these girls being in his house other than girls saying so? To which Detective Joe answers, through physical surveillance, I'd researched all the intelligence that the police have gathered during the past years. And in 2004, Mr. Rodriguez, Alfredo, the former houseman, had called the police because he had seen a suspicious vehicle that he did not recognize in the driveway of Mr. Epstein's house. Right, is here. This is before the investigation. Okay, so in 2004, Mr. Rodriguez, the former houseman, had called the police because he had seen suspicious vehicle that he did not recognize in the driveway of Mr. Epstein's house. Mr. Rodriguez was pulling in from Publix and didn't recognize the vehicle, so he left and drove straight to the police department and notified them there was a strange vehicle in the driveway. When that vehicle was approached by the police officers, they found one of the girls sitting in this car with her friend. I believe we have that police report somewhere too. There's a bunch that was entered in there. There's so much. Anyway, then the next question is, does it identify who the friend is? And then he says, Question, and when you look at the report, was it the date that she was there in 2004? He answers, November 28th, 2004. And at which point her cell phone rang and the officer felt that it must have been her mother because she says, I can't talk, I'm in school. Question. Okay, did the officer's note say why she was there? Answer. She stated that she was there to pick up monies they were owed to her, that she is a massage therapist for Epstein. Question. Okay, the girls you talked to, how did they all typically tend to know each other of those that do? Were they all in school together? Answer. They all knew each other from the high school. All except blank. Question, because she knew. Oh, okay. So this is talking about Sally, the 14-year-old victim. All except Sally. Question, because she knew Haley from outside of school. Detective Joe answers correct. She knew Haley because she was dating her cousin. Question. Okay. At some point, did you obtain a search warrant for Jeffrey Epstein's home? Answer. Correct. I did. Question. When was that? Answer. That was in October. Page 42. Question. Page 42. So this is her referencing when they go into the search warrant investigation. To which point Detective Joe answers, October 12th, 2005. Oops, I'm sorry. Nope, that was in another interview. Question, October 20th. Answer, October 20th. In my head, I remembered October 20th. Question, you got the warrant on October 18th and executed it on October 20th. Answer, correct. Question, okay. Who was present with you when you executed the warrant? Answer. Various members of the police department, Detective Crowell, Sergeant Frick, Detective Dix, Detective Dawson, Detective Salmon, myself, crime scene manager, Gregory Parkinson. And again, we've read all those reports, but here we do have some of the snippets from that police search. And this was in the most recent Epstein drop. Okay, then here's a little it's 18 minutes. We're not watching 18 minutes of this, but this is a little snippet from the raid in 2005. Okay, so that was a little snippet of the search warrant execution video. So let's continue here with the questioning or the answers. Detective Joe continues with his testimony. There was a lot of people from the police department. Lanna then goes on to question, all right, and Greg Parkinson is outside. So Greg Parkinson is the person that we just saw reading out the search warrant. To which Detective Joe says yes. He goes, okay. During the execution of that warrant, there was an item found that was identified as a twin torpedo. Answer from Detective Joe, yes. Question, what is that item? Answer, it is known as a dildo. Question, okay, a toy that you buy? He answers, a toy. Question, okay, where was that found? He answers, that was found in the bedroom of, I want to say, Nadia's bedroom. They call her Nada all the way through this. Now, I don't know if, again, going back to Virginia saying that Epstein loved to change people's names to suit more Americanized versions. So I don't know if her actual name is Nada, but he changed it to Nadia, and everyone refers to her as Nadia because it's easier to pronounce, or it's a typo. But throughout the police investigation notes, they have her as Nana Marchinkova, not Nadia. And then again, the search warrant receipt will be posted on the Substack. as well as the DOJ and Oversight Committee links. So you can also, anyone who wants to, it's a lot of information. So I don't blame you for not doing it. That's what I'm here for. But if you want to review and look at those files by yourself at your own leisure, as Ariana likes to say, they will be available on the Substack. I'll have all the links there, and the link to that Substack will be below. Okay, excuse me, keep going. Okay, is that the bedroom that the girls were taken to when they performed the massages as described by to you? To which he answers, the main massages occurred in Epstein's master bedroom bathroom area. Question, not us. Answer, no. Question, bedroom bathroom area? He answers no. So she's asking not Nada's bedroom bathroom area, at which Detective Joe says no. Again, reaffirming that all the massages happen in Epstein's master bathroom and bedroom area. Question, okay, so that was found in a different place. He answers correct. Question, were there devices found anything that matched the descriptions as given by the girls, either a purple or a white with a large head? Answer, no. Then, okay, so now we are switching. It looks like Lanna is now switching from Detective Joe's testimony, and now she's switching it over for the jurors to ask him, to question him, and ask him questions. Okay, so we go on. So Lanna goes, at this point, Detective Recarey, I'm going to see if the grand jurors have any questions for you, at which he says, okay. So the first juror gets up. I'd like to ask you a question first. What constitutes a act under the law? So Lana is the one who is answering this juror. She says, activity means oral, anal, or penetration of another by any other object, or the handling or the fondling of the organ of another for the purpose of masturbation. However, the term does not include acts for bona fide medical purposes. You'll get a copy of this. Yes, ma'am. But then she goes on, yes, ma'am. So then she asks another one. I love this question from the first juror question because she's been trying to like muddy the water. So the first juror asks her point blank, explain to us what it is. The way she says you'll get a copy of this, yes, ma'am, ask the next juror, shows that this first question had her shooketh. So juror number 2, this is a woman, as we can see, then ask the next questions. Do you know the location of Jeffrey Epstein at present? You say that he hasn't been back since October. Now it looks like Detective Joe is answering this question to the juror. And he says he has various homes, one in New York, he has a ranch in New Mexico, he has a private island right outside St. Thomas, he has a home in Paris and one in England. The juror asks, I think this is the same juror. She asks again, so can you get in touch with him? You would have a way to do that. To which Detective Joe answers, he has various counsels representing him. Miss Belohlavek, Lanna, then points to what looks like another juror, another female juror, and says, yes, ma'am. So this is question number 3. Juror asks, was she the only one of the girls that he actually had intercourse with? So this is the testimony Detective Joe brought in about the girl getting forcibly, like him forcibly entering her. To which Detective Joe answers no. Again, so the juror asks, the third question is, was this girl the only one of these girls that he actually had intercourse with? To which Detective Joe says no. The juror says okay. Then Detective Joe continues. There's a total of 5 victims altogether, but as far as intercourse, you mean? Yeah. And then he says, then the which so they are a total of 5 victims altogether, but as far as intercourse you mean? So he's reaffirming her questioning, to which she agrees. Then he answers, as far as penile intercourse, again, he's like verifying what she's saying. Same juror says, right. To which Detective Joe confirms that he believes two of the victims had penile intercourse. And to which the juror says, like, accepts it, okay. And then Lanna Bowel points to another juror and says, yes, sir. So this is a male juror asking the question. This is question number 4, Haley. As far as Haley, it does not appear, from what I'm hearing, it's not like Haley was a central focal point who coordinated all this for Epstein. It seemed like Epstein had multiple sources to have access to some of these young girls. Is that correct? To which Detective Joe says all these girls were in tight cliques together, Haley being the first one from that clique to go to the house. And he says, okay. The witness, Detective Joe says, basically was that she brought blank, who brought blank, who brought blank. So he's saying how everything kind of went. And then the jury says, right, and said, so Detective Joe goes on to say, so it was like a trickling effect. Jury goes on and says, so this, I mean, it's just kind of seems this little micro economy got spawned here. So he is putting the 2 and 2 together on this like pyramid scheme. Epstein trafficking with minors pyramid scheme. This male juror is kind of putting the 2 pieces together for us. Because, I mean, do any of these girls provide those services or services for money for anyone else? Do they do this? So thank you. To which, of course, Detective Joe says no. So he is again questioning because Lanna Bowel has been trying to paint these girls as just like fast, loose prostitute, high school prostitutes doing this thing, making to 100 a year, whatever. So this line of questioning, which is great. So it looks like the jurors have had some sense and they're fighting back to that image, asking like, do these girls do anything else? Because that would go towards Lanna trying to paint them as Lanna's and the defense argument that these girls are prostitutes. All right, so then the juror clarifies on a common basis, or to which Detective Joe verifies no. So that juror says again, does it just happen so that Epstein is the source by which they're attracted to here? And then the Detective Joe says Epstein was the source. He says, okay. To which Bowel says, oh my God. To which Bowel, okay, so after that questioning to verify whether any of the girls were like providing massage like favors outside of Epstein, the prosecution, Bowel goes on to stand up for her witness, for her client, Jeffrey Epstein. It's like, do you know Redacted's name's present occupation detective? To which Detective Joe answers, she's an exotic dancer. Then Bellhell says, a stripper? To which he says, a stripper. She's like, okay. So she has to enter it. Like this woman, like there's a special place in hell for Lanna Belohlavek. Lanna Bellhell, a special place in hell. Karma's gonna get you so hard, woman. Okay. So then the jury testifies who is that one, and then Detective Joe clarifies the name, to which Alana also gives so Detective Joe gives just the first name of this victim that she just had to let the jurors know is now a stripper. And then Bell follows that up. Detective Joe just gives the girl's first name, and then Bell gives the full name. She's like, yes, sir. To which the juror says, when Jeffrey entered did she ask him to stop at all? And then, thank you. So the juror is completely ignoring Bell trying to introduce this victim as a stripper. So the juror, thank you. This male juror, thank you, flips like, puts us back on course to what really matters. He says, when Jeffrey Epstein entered her, did she ask him to stop at all? Detective Joe says she screamed no. She did, juror says, and he continued. The witness said no. He apologized, offered her $1,000. Subsequently, then he's saying that, so he stopped. After that, yes, you're okay. And the second question, you had made a comment that Dollar Rent-A-Car wasn't able to find the detectives. Joe says the Dollar car rental. So they're clarifying the car rental. Have you been able to confirm the actual? To which, so they're confirmed as the witness is asking Detective Joe whether he's able to find and confirm the dollar rent-a-car thingy. To which Detective Joe says subpoenas have been issued to Dollar Rent-A-Car. I have their text researching it. They were acquired by another company, so some of the business records were not up to par. So they're hopefully, I keep reminding them too. To which the juror says there's more than one car than that. To which Detective Joe reaffirms that's correct. They still rent, so they still have a car rented for one of the girls, which she's still driving. To which the juror says, okay. And then Bowel now picks up another juror. So this is jury number 5, another woman. I don't think she likes how the men are going. Like, they're surprising her. So then she goes on to another woman. So this female juror asks, how many of the girls had relationships with him over a year while they were still in high school? To which she says, I'm sorry. Detective Joe asks again, I'm sorry. To which I'm like, what are you talking about high school? These are minors. To the juror says, this female juror again asks how many of the girls were seeing him for more than 1 year and he knew they were still in high school. To which Detective Joe answers this juror, I know that all of them were in high school when they first started seeing him. All being 16. The age of graduation is 18. I would say because they all met him through the high school. To which Miss Belohlavek then goes on to say, Lanna goes on to say, the question is the length of the period. It's one time. Like with the redacted, it was numerous hundreds time for 2 years. Bell goes to clarify, because I just want to say for a second, insane to me, maybe it shouldn't be insane to me, how the male jurors are able to see, the way they're questioning, the male jurors seem to be able to see through the BS and still know that these girls, no matter what, were 16. Even when, we're underage and are victims. Even when Lanna was she's a stripper now, the male juror was able to ignore that completely and redirect to what really actually matters. And then while the female jurors like Lanna were reacting to these girls in such an opposite way, it was they're doing their consent, they knew they were doing, and completely negating that these were all minors that were manipulated and grown. And to that I say, to that is just there's a special class of women who looks at life that way. They are usually the more ignorant women. There's a special class of women who view this way, who are like Lanna Belohlavek. That is a special class of women alone. And I pray and I hope that is not majority of the women out there, or we're in a lot of trouble. Okay, so Detective Joe goes on to try and deal with his asinine questions. So he says over 2 years, and Bowel goes 15 or more times. She's trying to show that these girls were going to his house, whatever. You'll know what Lanna is trying to prove with this questioning. Okay, 15, so right. So this, then Bowel says, so this is log standing with, he says, right, and many of the other girls, he said, yes. So she's trying to show these girls continuously went over to his house over and over again. So then the same female juror says, can you name the 2 girls that the penetration took place with? Detective Joe answers that question, provides the 2 names, both redacted. And then this woman says, and how many then would, in your opinion, defined by this fact, how many other girls will fall under the category? Can you give some type of count? To which Detective Joe says, they was the age. Bell says there's a masturbation in front of how many girls? The witness says, okay, so he is not sure about the question. So Bell clarifies saying there's the masturbation in front of how many girls, to which Detective Joe is there was. He's trying to say how much to answer, which Bell cuts him off. And then eventually he gets around to finishing his sentence. There's a little back and forth with her cutting him off. But then he says, I would say all of them. So this all happened with all of them. To which Bell says, okay. Then he goes on, Detective Joe says, except for maybe the legitimate masseuse, which is the one girl who I think that's ransom. Don't hold me for it. Then Bellhel's next question, interjection here is, but the only one that was under 16 at that time was blank. To which Detective Joe, so that's Sally. So she's reaffirming that at that time, the only one that was under the age of 16 was Sally, to which Detective Joe confirmed, right, she was 14. Okay, then the same juror goes on to say, other than Sally's stepmother coming to the police, she obviously found out from the principal. A little like whatever with the details here. But the other girls, none of their parents knew about it or intervened in any way, to which Detective Joe goes on to say, it wasn't until Sally's parents discovered what she was doing. It was at that time that she had stopped, and to this day, she still gets phone calls. She had to change her cell phone number, changed the house number from Sarah Kellen and Epstein. So the juror goes on to ask, because here these girls are bringing home this money. They're obviously shopping, bringing home items, and none of their parents were involved in any way. He answers, a lot of these parents, they had no idea what was going on. The jury says, I can't believe that. I mean, I believe it. I remember, like, it wasn't anything bad when I was I had a huge shopping problem. And what I used to do was I would literally keep bags at my boyfriend's house to hide how much I was shopping for my mom, and then keep bags at my parents' house to hide from my boyfriend how much I was shopping. So it is very possible to be able to hide your new items from people if you really want and you really try. Okay, so to which Bellhel then answers, you have to ask questions, not comments, to that juror who's talking. But something just, again, this is not facts, this is me stipulations. We've all heard about jurors being bought. What if this female juror asking these specific questions, Bellhill and the defense were all in the pocket together, and this is Bellhill reminding her, like, your job is not, you have a specific set of questions you're supposed to answer, and that is not common. Stay in line, stay in your lane kind of thing. Okay, so it goes on to say, yes, ma'am, do you have your hand up? Okay, so she's done with that jury. Now we're gone. Pick it. See how she's noticed? Even Lanna, like we have noticed the difference between how the male jurors are questioning and how the female jurors are handling the questioning. So what is she doing? She's switched. She's asking mostly female jurors because they favor her and the defense's positioning better with their questioning. Let's go on. So this is juror number five, I believe, maybe six. Another question. Let's see, you mentioned that a girl was from this state. He says yes. Okay, so she's verifying. So this juror is just verifying where the girls all were from, to which she says that these girls all lived in the same vicinity and area. And then the juror goes on to say, okay, any suspicion that there perhaps were other groups of girls from other areas, schools, or other areas that she would bring into his home. Okay, so other girls from other schools that Haley would bring to Epstein's home, to which Detective Joe answered, not that I am aware of. The common link was the specific high school. And there's actually comments made from people that says that there's nobody in the high school that does not know about Jeffrey Epstein. To which Bellhel then says, yes, sir. So done with this juror, moving on to another one. This one is a guy now asking the question. And he asks, the girl that brought these girls and got to $100, was that blank? So Haley, I'm guessing. To which Bellhel answers, yes, she was the one of the girls. So the juror asks then, to which Bellhel cuts off this juror and says there was another girl that brought them. So yeah, we know that different girls, at least two different girls brought people. And that's how it grew from 6 to 17 names listed to the 12 that were supposed to be indicted for to the one that Lanna decided to indict for. Anyway, so it goes on to say, so the juror says, okay, then after he got some of their cell phone numbers, did he make his own appointments? Did he still pay Haley? To which Detective Joe now takes back the answering and says that is correct. So the juror says okay. And then Detective Joe says, and eventually they did count out Haley and would contact these girls directly. So he's verifying that after he got the phone numbers from the girls, would he make his own appointments and did he still pay Haley? Then Detective Joe says that is correct, but what he's saying is that is correct that after he got the other children's cell phone numbers, he would make the appointments themselves and eventually he'll go directly and skip Haley. To which the juror says that's okay. And I think they kind of like got it together. And then Bowel again jumps in, and this juror is questioning with Detective Joe and says, did Jeffrey Epstein make the appointments or was it done by Sarah Kellen? Again, Bowel working hard for Jeffrey Epstein. She like to take again more culpability off Jeffrey Epstein to put it to anybody else than him. To which Detective Joe answers through Sarah Kellen, his assistant. And then Bellho follows that up with, so we don't have any of the girls actually making an appointment with Jeffrey Epstein himself, to which Detective Joe affirms correct. Then Bellho asks, were you able to talk with Sarah Kellen? Oh, let's see, was he? To which he says, Detective Joe lets us know, no, the defense never allowed him to talk to Sarah Kellen. This girl, luckiest girl in the world, would say. She has not had to face any consequences. She has not had to talk to the cops. She has just skated on freely while everybody else around this Jeffrey Epstein thing has had to is left traumatized trying to pick up the pieces of their lives. The juror goes on to verify, okay, so one of the victims claimed to make it clear to Epstein that for 2 years she was in high school. He knew that, to which Detective Joe answers, he knew that based on the sending the flowers to her for her high school play that she was in. Then Lanna has had enough of that line of questioning. She goes, anyone else? The juror ignores that and continues with his questioning and says, what year was she when she received the flowers? What class was she? Was it a senior or a junior? And then the witness goes on to say, which is Detective Joe, I want to say senior, but I'm not 100% positive on that. To which the juror says, why I ask is that, usually a senior can be 18 years old, whereas a junior is, that was. To which Detective Joe agrees, affirms, and then the juror says that would give him some knowledge of knowing how old she was. Bellhell then insists on cutting off this male juror and says, yes, ma'am? Time for another woman with her asinine questions, hopefully. Maybe not. We don't know what the juror says, so let me not judge her before she opens her mouth. Juror, a female. Again, this is number 8, maybe? I think this is 8. The 2 girls that received rental cars, their parents never asked where they got these cars that they were driving, to which Detective Joe says the one girl who is still driving the car, she's attending college. Her parents live up in a different okay, so he's saying when the girls go see when the one girl sees her parents, she tells them that the car is a friend or it's borrowed. And then Lanna goes on to another one. Yes, sir. Could be juror number 9, a male. He asks, confirm, I believe that redacted name has indicated that the conversation with Jeffrey Epstein was that to make sure that the girls were young. So this is about Haley. This is going to Detective Joe's testimony that Haley had brought over a girl who's 23 and she was told that was too old for him. Detective Joe reaffirmed, younger the better was the quote. To which the juror responds, and in that conversation, was that in reference to specifically your friends from your school, or to which Detective Joe answers this juror, that came later because she brought a 23-year-old to provide a massage and he told her she was too old. So, okay, he's confirming that when she brought the 20-year-old, he said that was too old. So then she started to bring kids. from her high school because that was the preferred age group for Epstein. And then Lanna takes over again, and another juror. Okay, so this juror asks Lanna, "Can I ask you a legal question?" To which Lanna says, "Mm-hmm." And then the juror says, "Is there?" And it says inaudible. And then she answers, "Yes, but we cannot discuss that when the detective's not here." Yes, sir. They don't say. So the juror asks her a legal question, says, "Is there blank?" And then she said, "Yes, but we cannot discuss that when the detective's not here." So I'm thinking he's asking if there's a recording of the interview or a copy of the specific interview done, to which she says there is a recording, but that detective's not here, so we can't ask that. Which, in my legal knowledge from Legally Blonde and watching Emily D. Baker and the Johnny Depp trial, it looks like that being entered, and a Lincoln lawyer. Okay, I'll stop name dropping. Lincoln lawyer, my law school education, is that would come in, that would be hearsay. I guess will be introduced as hearsay, which is why they can't talk about it. So then the juror says, "Are all these girls available to be called if the case went to court?" To which Detective Joe answers that juror, "If we went to trial, yes, they would be." Then Lanna says, "Any other question?" Brings to another juror and says, "Yes, sir." This one says, this juror question is, "Have you been able to verify Mr. Epstein's age?" To which Detective Joe responds, "Mr. Epstein was born 1951, I believe, 51 or 53, January of 1953, 20th, 1953, which would have made him 53 years of age." Then Lanna jumps in and says 51 to 50, 51 during the times of this event. So Lana's whole mission is to make Epstein look younger and the victims look older. So then Detective Joe says, to which Lanna says, "Oh, all right, thank you very much." And the same juror keeps going, "One more question," because Lanna keeps interrupting them. And then, of course, Detective Joe also backs him up and says, "I think there's one more question." So the juror goes on, is able to finish his line of question. He says, "Is there any other evidence that the girls were in his house besides the one tape, besides what they're saying?" To which Detective Joe responds, he did have two cameras, two covert hidden cameras inside his house for security purposes. We did locate that computer. I reviewed the images in the computer, and within that computer, there are photographs of girls that I had previously interviewed that appeared to be them. However, because it's so grainy, so snowy, a positive identification is, it's hard to unless you show it to the girl, "Is this you?" Which I haven't done because too much information was being leaked back to him. Him being Jeffrey Epstein was being leaked a lot of information. So that's why I pretty much stopped giving them information as far as the investigation. To which Bowel says, "So you can't say specifically when the pictures are of the girls involved." To which Detective Joe responds, "I cannot say positively. I can say that this girl appears to be just like, I believe this is Haley. Some hairstyles, same hairstyle, same mannerisms of walking, same clothes that typical that I've seen her wear, but I can't say for 100% that is her for sure. This appears to be her. The same body style, face, that same type of." Lanna cuts him off, and the girls are still in touch with him, telling him about the investigation. It's like, "Bring it back." So Detective Joe says, "I know for a fact that blank." So he mentions one name that is. So Bell then clarifies, "or telling Sarah or Nada." To which a Detective Joe says, "Right, I know that blank has called, and other girls that I have interviewed or approached to be interviewed have called him." And Bell then cuts it off again and says, "And there are other girls that refuse to talk." I was just remembering that because they thought they're in love with Epstein. And then he answers, "Right." Bell says, "I love Jeffrey. I'm not testifying against him." That was the one girl, we have that in the police investigation notes, when they went to question her. She's like, I don't want to say anything. I love him. By the way, this is a minor. So don't get it confused, like Bowel wants us to. The minor that says, the one who says, I love him, I'm not testifying, that's a freaking minor. And then it goes on. So the juror then says, one question, didn't you say that the police in Palm Beach has the police in Palm Beach has the residents under surveillance? Detective Joe answers him. When I took over the investigation, I had our TAC team conduct physical surveillance, and they observed these girls coming to the residence in their vehicles, in their dad's car, in their mom's car, coming to the housing Epstein. So then the juror cuts him off. So you do have witnesses that can put these girls in. Thank you. This juror, I love how the male, like the jurors, are freaking like not letting Lanna derail the questioning. Like they have pegged her. I see this as like at least the male jurors have freaking pegged Lanna and what she's trying to do. He goes, Detective Joe confirms absolutely. And the particular car, and then he says absolutely, and the juror said there's one thing I forgot, and Bellhell cuts them off as they're talking and verifying information. The prosecutor of Bellhell at USA says in or at his home, not in sex act though. So every single time, like she only interjects for one reason. She will interject the jurors questioning Detective Joe on the stand. Every single time the question and answering paints Jeffrey Epstein in a wrong light or seems that it's making him look like more and more culpable, she will interject and say something to derail it. So he goes on saying, no, not in sex acts. They were conducting surveillance from the outside. Why would they be having freaking taping Jeff? Why is the Palm Beach police expected Valhalla? Why are you asking this stupid question? Why in the world will they be in the house taping him have sex with they're minors? Are you asking whether the Palm Beach Police Department was filming child pee? Lanna, God, she's so, oh my gosh, so asinine. Okay, so the juror goes on to say, I know. Did you do any telephone research or was everything done over cell phones? And Detective Joe goes on, everything was done over cell phones. Then she goes on, so that's enough for Lanna. She says, all right, thank you very much, Detective Recarey. Witness is excused. Okay, so we're gonna cut it off here for this segment. We're probably over an hour already, not too sure, but we're gonna cut this off here. And then in the next one, we'll just pick up directly with Gregory Parkinson's and round out the rest of the grand jury reading. So they might be, I don't know, one or two. I am not sure yet. We will see. But we're going to cut off here. Again, I hope you found a lot of valuable information in this grand jury that you didn't know before. If that is true, please go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button. Please let me know your thoughts, any interesting information or topics that you have learned from reading the grand jury. Let us know in the comments below. And again, remember, we have one mission, and that is for us to go from a quiet whisper at the corners of the internet into a loud scream for justice. Justice for the victims, justice for those also who are no longer with us anymore. That is Virginia Giuffre, Virginia Roberts, as well as Detective Recarey. That even in death, they will still be able to see the justice they fought for so long, and that was denied to them while they're alive. All right, everybody, this is Sonia. I am Sonia, and this is the Unredacted Truth. Catch you next time as we review the rest of the 2000s jury transcript.